I never imagined my life would lead me to this moment, standing at the crossroads of love and dreams. My name is David, and like many men, I carried a set of beliefs about relationships that shaped my understanding of love. Growing up, I was taught that loyalty was paramount and that true love meant sacrificing for the one you cherish. I believed in the kind of love that was unwavering, the kind that weathered storms and emerged stronger on the other side. My desires were simple, yet profound. I yearned for a partner who would share in my dreams of a quiet life, a life filled with small moments of happiness, where laughter echoed through the halls of our home. I wanted to build a life rooted in stability, where we could grow old together, reflecting on the memories we created. I dreamed of a family, a cozy house, with a white picket fence and perhaps a dog running in the yard. It felt within reach, until Jenna came into my life. Jenna was everything I was not: adventurous, ambitious, and driven by dreams that reached far beyond our small town. She often talked about living abroad, embracing cultures, and exploring the world. Initially, her dreams captivated me. They were vibrant and thrilling. I was drawn to her passion and vitality, and I fell for her instantly. Yet, as time passed, I began to feel a tug of conflict within me. My quiet life seemed to clash with her grand aspirations, leaving me in a constant state of unease. The fear of losing her was a shadow that loomed over me. What if she pursued her dreams and left me behind? I could hardly bear the thought of her finding happiness away from me, with someone who matched her adventurous spirit. That fear morphed into doubt, sowing seeds of insecurity in my heart. Was I enough? Did my desire for a simple life make me less worthy of love? These questions haunted me, and with each passing day, my self-esteem dwindled. Amidst this internal struggle, my mind kept returning to my failures. I had never been successful in romantic relationships before Jenna. I always felt like I was the one left behind, the one who wasn't exciting enough to hold someone's attention. I feared that my lack of experience would rear its head again, pushing Jenna further away. I felt like a ship lost at sea, and Jenna was the lighthouse guiding me home. Yet I was terrified of the storm that could snuff out her light. As I stood on the precipice of our relationship, I realized I needed to confront my beliefs head-on. Could love truly withstand the tests of differing dreams? Would it be possible to share a life with Jenna, even if our paths seemed to diverge? I knew I had to find the answers, even if that meant embarking on a journey fraught with uncertainty. In this moment of reflection, I felt the curiosity bubble within me. How would this story unfold? Would I discover that love can indeed thrive in the face of conflict and compromise? Or would the dreams that once united us ultimately drive us apart? The day I decided to talk to Jenna was one of those moments that felt like a weight pressing down on my chest. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the remnants of our shared breakfast, 2 half-eaten slices of toast and a mug of coffee gone cold. The warmth we once shared felt distant, overshadowed by the growing divide between us. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on different paths, and it was time to confront the reality I'd been avoiding. As Jenna entered the room, her face lit up with that same enthusiasm I had fallen in love with. She was discussing a new opportunity abroad, her eyes sparkling with excitement. But as she spoke, my heart sank. Each word felt like a reminder of the dreams that separated us. I could see her future unfolding in vibrant colors, while my own life felt muted, bound by the familiarity of our town and its quiet routines. "Jenna," I began, my voice shaky, "can we talk?" She paused, sensing the gravity in my tone. I had rehearsed this moment in my mind 1,000 times, but nothing could prepare me for the actual conversation. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself against the whirlwind of emotions. I think we need to have a serious discussion about us. Her expression shifted from joy to concern as she took a seat across from me. "What's wrong, David? You're scaring me." "I've been thinking about your plans, about your dreams of living abroad," I admitted, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. "And I realize they feel so different from the life I want. I don't want to hold you back from pursuing your dreams, but I'm struggling to see how we can make this work." Jenna's eyes widened, and I could see the confusion and hurt flash across her face. "Are you saying you want to break up?" she asked softly, as if the very idea hurt her to articulate. "I don't want to lose you, Jenna, but I don't think I can be the partner you need. I can't ask you to give up on your dreams just for me." The pain in my chest grew heavier, and I felt a lump in my throat. This was not how I envisioned our love story ending, but I believed it was the right choice. Tears began to well in her eyes, and I felt my heart shatter at the sight. "David, I thought we were in this together. I thought you'd support me. I thought you believed in me." "I do believe in you," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "But love shouldn't feel like a choice between dreams. It shouldn't feel like a sacrifice." As we sat there, a silence enveloped us, thick and suffocating. Jenna's dreams were right in front of her, vivid and alluring, while my own aspirations felt like echoes of a simpler time. I was terrified of what this conversation meant for us. Would this truly be the end, or was it just a moment of clarity? In that moment, I couldn't help but wonder if I was making the right choice. Had I jumped the gun too soon, driven by my insecurities? Could we have found a compromise that allowed both of us to thrive? But deep down, I knew I had to let her go, even if it shattered both our hearts. The reality of my decision settled in as I realized that I was not just breaking up with Jenna. I was breaking up with the future I had dreamed of. The days following my conversation with Jenna felt like a surreal blur. Each morning, I woke up in our shared apartment, the quiet spaces echoing with memories of laughter and love that now felt painfully distant. The weight of our breakup settled heavily on my chest, and I found myself grappling with the aftermath of my decision. I tried to convince myself that it was for the best, but a gnawing doubt lingered, questioning whether I had made a colossal mistake. A week later, I was at my favorite coffee shop, nursing a cup of black coffee, as I attempted to distract myself from the ache of her absence. I tried to lose myself in the comforting ritual of ordering my usual, scanning the menu like it held the answers I sought. It was during this moment of quiet reflection that I overheard a conversation at the next table that turned my world upside down. Two women were chatting animatedly, their voices rising above the soft hum of the cafe. One of them, a mutual friend of Jenna and me, mentioned Jenna's name. My heart raced as I leaned in, hoping for some insight that would offer clarity. I couldn't help myself. I needed to know how she was coping. "I can't believe Jenna is leaving soon," the friend said, her tone a mixture of disbelief and concern. "She was so upset about David. I heard she's taking a job abroad after all. I thought they had something special." I felt the blood drain from my face. Taking a job abroad? The words echoed in my mind like a punch to the gut. I had broken up with her under the assumption that she was ready to leave me behind for a life far away. But now, it seemed like I was the one who had misunderstood everything. Jenna was not leaving. She was adapting, trying to make a life that included both her dreams and me. The realization washed over me like cold water. I struggled to accept the truth as it unfolded before me. The very idea that she was willing to compromise felt like a betrayal of my own beliefs. I had pushed her away, thinking I was doing the right thing, and now I found myself facing the consequences of my choices. My heart raced with a mixture of guilt and confusion, battling with the belief that I had made the right call. What was I supposed to do with this new information? I felt an overwhelming urge to reach out to her, to explain how I felt. Yet, there was a nagging fear. What if I had misjudged her intentions entirely? What if she had already moved on? The conflict inside me grew, churning with the knowledge that I had let my insecurities dictate our relationship's fate. As I left the cafe, I felt as if I were walking in a daze. I replayed the conversation I had overheard over and over, grappling with the realization that Jenna's dreams could coexist with my own. Maybe I didn't have to choose between her and my life back home. Why hadn't I seen that before? But the deeper I dug into this realization, the more I wrestled with the shame of my previous decision. Had I truly loved her if I was so quick to assume that we couldn't find a way to bridge our worlds? The battle raged on in my mind as I made my way home, a whirlwind of emotions leaving me exhausted and confused. In that moment, I recognized the truth. My belief bubble had been shattered, leaving me to face the harsh reality that love requires openness, communication, and most importantly, the willingness to compromise. As I stood at the threshold of our apartment, the questions loomed large. Could I still salvage what we had, or had I already lost her forever? In the aftermath of that fateful day at the coffee shop, my mind was a battlefield, and my heart felt like it was in free fall. The realization that Jenna was willing to stay nearby, potentially building a life that included me, stirred a whirlwind of emotions. Yet, instead of joy, I was overwhelmed with a sinking feeling of inadequacy. I tried to go about my daily routine, but everything felt off-kilter. Each time I passed our favorite restaurant, where we had shared countless meals filled with laughter and plans for the future, I felt a pang of longing mixed with guilt. I found myself questioning every aspect of our relationship. Had I really been the supportive partner she needed? Had I truly believed in her dreams, or had I only been clinging to my own fears? One evening, I found myself scrolling through my phone, looking at old pictures of us, Jenna laughing, her eyes sparkling with joy, and me always smiling by her side. Those images were bittersweet reminders of what we once shared. But as I gazed at them, I couldn't shake the sense of loss that washed over me. I felt like I had failed her, and the weight of that realization pressed heavily on my self-esteem. Every time I closed my eyes, I was haunted by the memories of the moments that had defined our love. The spontaneous road trips, the late-night talks, and the shared dreams of a life together. But now, all I could see were the places where I had fallen short. My inner critic was relentless, whispering that I hadn't been good enough, that I had pushed her away when she needed me the most. I started to withdraw from friends and family, feeling like I had no right to seek comfort or advice. I couldn't face the inevitable questions about Jenna and our relationship. Instead, I spent my evenings in silence, staring at the walls of our apartment, drowning in a pool of self-doubt. The impact on my self-esteem was profound. I felt like a shadow of my former self, plagued by the fear that I would never be worthy of love again. One night, I reached out to Mike, my best friend since college, hoping for some perspective. I found him at our usual bar, sitting at the counter, nursing a drink. As soon as I arrived, He could sense my turmoil. "What's going on, man?" he asked, his brow furrowed with concern. I hesitated, but the dam finally broke. I poured out my heart, detailing everything: the breakup, the overheard conversation, and the way I had let fear dictate my decisions. Mike listened intently, nodding as I spoke, but I could see the skepticism in his eyes. "David, it sounds like you're holding on to a lot of guilt," he said after I finished. "But you need to realize that love isn't just about never making mistakes. It's about growth and learning from those mistakes. If Jenna is willing to stay close, maybe it's time to confront her and figure out where you both stand." His words resonated with me, but I still felt hesitant. Could I really confront her? I wasn't sure I had the strength to face the possibility of rejection again. What if she had truly moved on, and my attempt to reconnect only made things worse? But deep down, I knew that avoiding the truth would only deepen my feelings of inadequacy. I had to confront my fears, not just for myself, but for Jenna as well. I realized that if I truly wanted to salvage what we had, I needed to embrace vulnerability. I had to accept that love, with all its complexities, was worth fighting for, even if it meant facing the possibility of pain again. The days that followed my conversation with Mike were a jumble of emotions, oscillating between hope and despair. I knew I had to confront Jenna, but each passing moment felt heavier, suffocating my resolve. The idea of facing her brought with it an avalanche of conflicting feelings. What if she didn't want to see me? What if she had already moved on, leaving me with nothing but memories? I found myself reliving every moment we had shared, from our first date to our most intimate conversations. Those memories played like a movie reel in my mind, often accompanied by an ache that felt all too familiar. I was stuck in a loop of what-ifs, which spiraled into an emotional storm that felt impossible to navigate. The emotional turmoil became my constant companion, filling my thoughts with despair. One particular night, as the weight of my feelings crashed over me like a tidal wave, I sat on the edge of our bed, the darkness of the room closing in around me. The air was thick with memories. Her scent still lingered on the sheets, a reminder of the warmth and laughter that once filled this space. I felt a hollow ache in my chest, a deep-rooted sorrow that made it hard to breathe. I had tried to convince myself that breaking up was the right choice, that Jenna's dreams were too far removed from my quiet life. But now I realized that I had only been hiding from my own fears. The thought of losing her was unbearable. I felt as if I were drowning, struggling to find a breath amid the waves of regret and sadness. Every time I thought of her, I was struck by a wave of longing mixed with guilt. I had pushed her away, believing I was protecting both of us. But in truth, I had built walls around my heart, allowing insecurity to dictate my actions. As I sat there, tears began to flow unbidden, each drop a reflection of my shattered dreams. The turmoil was relentless. I found myself replaying our last moments together, trying to analyze where everything had gone wrong. Did I express my fears enough? Did I communicate my love clearly? Or had I let my doubts overshadow the beautiful connection we had built over time? On one particularly difficult evening, I decided to go for a walk to clear my mind. The cool night air did little to ease the storm inside me, but as I wandered through familiar streets, I couldn't help but think of the countless evenings Jenna and I had spent hand in hand, exploring our neighborhood. With each step, I felt more lost, haunted by the ghost of our relationship. I turned a corner and found myself at the park where we had shared our first kiss. The memories flooded back. How she had playfully pushed me away, her laughter ringing out like music on the crisp autumn air. I sank onto a bench, feeling a mixture of nostalgia and despair wash over me. My heart ached, realizing how much I missed her presence, her laughter, and her unwavering support. As I sat there, I felt an overwhelming sense of loneliness engulfing me. The world around me continued to move, but I was stuck, paralyzed by my own fears and regrets. I longed to reach out, to hear her voice, to see her smile one more time. But in that moment, all I had were my thoughts, a cacophony of emotions that made it difficult to discern what I truly wanted. With a heavy heart, I realized that I had to make a decision. I couldn't allow this emotional turmoil to consume me any longer. I had to confront my feelings head-on, not just for my sake, but for Jenna's too. If there was a chance to rebuild what we had, I had to be brave enough to face the reality of our situation and communicate my heart. The turmoil within me reached a boiling point as I wrestled with the decision of whether to stay in my relationship with Jenna or walk away for good. My mind raced with the possibilities and consequences, each thought feeling like a weight on my chest. One evening, I found myself at our favorite coffee shop, the very place where we had first met. The familiar ambience, once comforting, now felt suffocating. I ordered a drink, trying to steady my nerves, but the thought of Jenna lingered in every corner of the cafe. I knew I had to confront her soon, but the prospect terrified me. Sitting at a table in the corner, I stared out the window, watching couples stroll by, hand in hand. I envied their ease, their confidence in one another. In contrast, I felt trapped in a cycle of fear and uncertainty. I wanted to believe that love could bridge our differences, that I could support Jenna's dreams while still holding on to my own. But doubt gnawed at me. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the cafe, I took a deep breath. I realized that my fears of losing her had driven me to the brink of giving up entirely. Could I really let her go without trying? What if this was my last chance to express how much she meant to me? With newfound determination, I pulled out my phone and sent her a message. "Can we meet? I need to talk." I felt a rush of relief and fear as I hit send. It was time to confront my emotions and lay everything on the table. That night, I lay awake, my mind racing. I knew I had to be honest with her about my feelings, my fears, my regrets, and my hope for the future. I realized that love isn't just about the perfect moments. It's about facing challenges together and finding common ground. The day I met Jenna felt like a crossroads in my life. Sitting across from her at our favorite coffee shop, I could sense the tension in the air. I took a deep breath, preparing myself for the conversation that could change everything. As she walked in, I noticed a familiar spark in her eyes, the same one that had captivated me from the start. But beneath that spark was a hint of uncertainty. I knew this meeting could either mend our relationship or seal its fate. "Thank you for coming," I said, my voice steady, despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside me. I needed to be honest, not just for myself, but for Jenna too. "I've been doing a lot of thinking. I pushed you away because I was afraid of the distance and what it meant for us. But I realized I don't want to lose you. I want to be a part of your dreams, even if it means compromising a little." Jenna looked at me, her expression softening. "I've been thinking too. I never wanted you to feel like you had to choose between me and your life. I was just so excited about the opportunity abroad, but I didn't want to leave you behind." In that moment, everything felt clearer. We shared our fears and hopes, discussing how we could navigate our different paths together. I learned that love requires compromise and open communication. It's about supporting each other, even when the journey takes unexpected turns. By the end of our conversation, I felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. We agreed to give our relationship another chance, promising to make room for each other's dreams. As we left the cafe hand in hand, I realized that love is not just about perfect moments. It's about being there for one another, learning to adapt, and growing together, no matter the distance. As time passed, I marveled at how much our relationship had evolved. Jenna and I worked hard to embrace each other's dreams, blending our lives in a way that felt authentic to both of us. The initial fear of separation had transformed into a beautiful partnership grounded in understanding and compromise. Jenna accepted her job offer, but instead of moving far away, she opted for a remote position, allowing her to stay nearby while still pursuing her career aspirations. Watching her thrive professionally was a joy I hadn't anticipated. Each small victory she achieved reminded me of the strength that comes from supporting someone you love. We spent evenings discussing her work challenges, sharing laughs, and brainstorming creative solutions. Our connection deepened, enriched by the new dimensions of our lives. I found myself more engaged in my own dreams, pursuing my passions with a renewed vigor, knowing that Jenna was cheering me on every step of the way. There were moments of doubt, of course. Sometimes, the fear of losing her would creep back in, whispering that I should have let her go entirely. But each time I felt that pang, I reminded myself of our commitment to one another. We had learned the hard way that love isn't just about avoiding conflict, it's about facing it together. One sunny afternoon, as we strolled through the park, Jenna took my hand and smiled, her eyes sparkling with joy. "I never thought we could find a way to make this work," she said. "But here we are, proving that love really can conquer all." In that moment, I realized how much I had grown. I had faced my fears, embraced vulnerability, and discovered the beauty of compromise. It was a lesson in love and life that I would carry with me forever. Together we learned that while dreams might differ, love creates a space for them to coexist. As we walked side by side, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Gratitude for Jenna, for our journey, and for the future we were building together.